My name is Mara Leland. And last week, my doorbell camera caught something I never thought I'd see. My parents stood on my porch. And beside them, my sister Cassandra was whispering directions like she was coaching a school play. "Mom, don't wipe the tears too fast," she said, checking her phone. "Dad, don't fold your arms, it makes you look defensive." My mother dabbed at her eyes and asked softly, "Like this?" Cassandra nodded. "Perfect. Now say you miss her." "Dine." My father cleared his throat, hesitating as if the words were foreign. "We miss you." "Sweetheart," he muttered, flat and lifeless. Cassandra frowned. "Again?" "Slower. You need to sound like you mean it." My mother added a shaky sigh for effect, her voice trembling on cue. "Please. Mara, come home. We just want to fix things." Cassandra studied them like a director adjusting a scene and said, "Good. But remember, she has to believe we're sorry. Not see that we're desperate." I moaned. They didn't realize the camera recorded 15 minutes before the bell was ever pressed. I sat on my couch watching them rehearse, rewinding once, then again, until I could hear every false sniff, every staged apology. My father practiced his line a third time, and my mother whispered, "Do you think she'll open the door?" Cassandra smirked. "Of course she will. Mara always opens the door." When the chime finally rang, I stood still for 30 seconds, breathing in the silence before I walked down the hall. Through the peephole, I saw them smiling perfect. Rehearsed. Ready. I opened the door and looked straight at Cassandra. "How many times did you practice that?" I asked. My mother froze mid-sob. My father's line died on his tongue, and Cassandra blinked, speechless for the first time in years. The fun started as my idea. Something simple and decent. A joint account for Grandma Beatrice's medical expenses. I suggested it over coffee one afternoon, telling Cassandra, "We can both put in what we can each month. She's done enough for us." Cassandra smiled like a politician caught on camera and said, "Of course. Mara, family should take care of family." For 2 years, I deposited $500 every month without missing one, trusting her word because I wanted to believe blood meant something. When I checked the balance that evening before Grandma's cardiology appointment, the number made no sense. $12,000 should have been there. But the screen showed 847. I refreshed it twice, convinced it was a glitch. When it didn't change, I called Cassandra. She answered on speaker, sounding distracted. "Oh, that money? I moved it into an investment opportunity. Real estate. It'll double in 6 months." I said her name slowly. Waiting for a sign she was joking. She laughed. "Don't be dramatic." "Mara, I didn't take it. I invested it. You'll thank me when it grows." I told her that money was for Grandma's medical bills, not her portfolio. But she brushed it off with a sigh. "You never understand business. This is how smart people build security." My chest tightened, and I asked again if she realized she'd stolen from a sick old woman. She snapped. "You're always so self-righteous. It's not theft. It's initiative." I drove to my parents' house that night, expecting outrage. My mother listened, expression flat, then said, "Cassandra was only trying to help the family." I stared at her, waiting for a sign of disbelief or anger. But none came. My father stayed silent, eyes on the carpet like he was watching guilt crawl across it. I said quietly, "She took Grandma's money." My mother's voice sharpened. "Don't humiliate your sister over a misunderstanding." Oh. I left their house knowing something permanent had shifted. The next morning, I blocked all 3 of their numbers. For the first time, The silence felt like air instead of punishment. At work, when my coworkers asked if everything was fine, I said yes. But inside, I knew something had broken that would never mend. Family wasn't supposed to be this transactional. Yet here we were, divided by a fund that was supposed to heal someone and ended up exposing everyone. 8 months passed without a single word from them until one afternoon a message appeared on my phone from an unfamiliar number. Mara. Sweetheart. It's Grandma Beatrice. I'm using the neighbor's phone. My birthday gathering is this Saturday. I have something important to tell the family. Please come. I love you. I read it twice, unsure if it was real. Then a third time, memorizing the phrasing that sounded exactly like her. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. But the last line, I love you, kept echoing. 3 days later, they came back to my porch. The same voices I'd erased from my life. Rehearsing remorse like it was choreography. Cassandra's tone was crisp and impatient. Mom. Cry slower. Dad. Hands at your sides. This needs to look real. My father muttered. You think she'll open the door this time? And Cassandra replied. She will. She has to. We need her there, my mother whispered. But what if she doesn't forgive us? Cassandra lowered her voice. We're not there for forgiveness. We're there for Grandma's signature. I woed. The phrase hit me like a sharp note I couldn't unhear. Signature. Not invitation. Not family. Signature. I saved the footage and called Aunt Diane that evening. They're planning something, I said, replaying the words in my head. Diane's tone was steady. Professional. If they're talking about signatures, they might be preparing a transfer of property. Don't sign anything. And keep every piece of evidence. I asked if Grandma was well enough to host anything. And she paused. She's fine. But I suspect she's being pushed into something she doesn't want. I was. That night I sat in my apartment, staring at the old framed photo of me and Grandma at the county fair. Her arm looped through mine. Both of us laughing. I whispered to the empty room. You want me there, don't you? The phone screen glowed with her message. Warm and deliberate. And I finally decided I would go to the gathering, not to make peace, but to understand what they were really after. Whatever game they thought they were playing. I was done being the easy one. I arrived at Grandma Beatrice's house exactly at 2. The lawn was full of cars. Laughter spilling from the porch like nothing had ever fractured between us. Inside, relatives I hadn't seen in years greeted me with smiles that felt rehearsed. Cassandra appeared first, holding a glass of champagne. Mara, I'm so glad you came. It means the world to Grandma. I looked at her steady composure and said, I'm sure it does. Especially since you've been preparing for this performance all week. Her smile twitched, then smoothed. Let's not start something. Okay, today is about family. 2. My mother drifted over. Her tone sugar-sweet. We're just grateful you're here. Honey. I met her gaze and said quietly. You practice that line too? She flinched, her eyes darting toward my father, who pretended to check his watch. Cassandra exhaled through her nose. We don't need to ruin this. Grandma deserves peace. I nodded once. Then maybe stop staging the chaos you keep blaming me for. My words hung in the air long enough for a few cousins to turn their heads. Grandma called out for everyone to gather in the dining room. Before we eat, I'd like to thank you all for being here, she said, her voice steady but watchful. Cassandra seized the moment and raised her glass. Before you do, Grandma, I'd love to say something. She didn't wait for permission. Family means forgiveness. And I'm thrilled my sister found her way back to us. All eyes turned toward me as she continued. Mara's been through a lot. Work stress, personal things, We've all been praying she'd heal. My mother chimed in seamlessly. She's finally herself again. We couldn't be happier. I felt the shift immediately. The pity in the room coating their words like syrup. Cassandra's smile was soft, triumphant. We're just so proud of her for choosing family again, I said calmly. You should be careful claiming miracles. Some of us bring receipts. She froze. But the room waited. I mean that literally, I added, pulling my phone from my bag. Since everyone loves a family story, let's hear one. I pressed play. And the living room filled with the sound of Cassandra's own voice directing the fake apology. The silence that followed was so complete it felt physical. Grandma didn't move. My father looked away. Cassandra's color drained. But she still managed a brittle laugh. That's edited, she said quickly. You know how these apps are. Aunt Diane's voice cut through. Ring footage includes timestamps. It's authentic. No one spoke after that. Grandma folded her hands and said quietly, Then I think we should continue this conversation honestly. Cassandra's mouth opened, but no words came. I looked around the room, the faces that once pitied me, now unsure where to look, and said softly, Honesty sounds like a good place to start. Don't. Cassandra's laugh broke too quickly. You really think this proves anything? It's edited. She cut it together. Aunt Diane's tone was even by. The metadata verifies the recording. No edits. It's admissible. My mother turned pale and said, Mara, how could you humiliate your sister like this? I kept my eyes on Cassandra. I didn't humiliate her. I just pressed play. My father muttered. Enough. Both of you. But his voice held no conviction. Only exhaustion. Grandma's gaze moved slowly between us. Cassandra, I need to ask you something. The money from the medical fund, where did it go? Cassandra's jaw tightened. I told you. I invested it. It just hasn't paid off yet. I said. You mean it vanished? She shot back. I didn't steal it. Mara, you've always twisted everything I do. I met her star. Twisted? I'm the one who kept receipts while you were fabricating stories. Cassandra's voice rose. You don't understand how business works. You live paycheck to paycheck. And you resent me because I take risks. I replied quietly. You call forging my name a risk? Her eyes flickered. What are you talking about? I turned to Diane. Tell her what you found. Diane opened her folder and said, There's a loan for $60,000 taken under your Social Security number. Mara. The handwriting on the signature matches Cassandra's financial documents from her brokerage license. My mother whispered. Cass, please tell me that isn't true. Cassandra's tone cracked. It's complicated. I was going to pay it off once the deal closed. Well, Grandma's voice cut through the room. You used your sister's name for a debt? Cassandra snapped. I had no choice. The lenders were threatening to seize the house. I said. So you endangered my credit to save your image. She turned on me, trembling with anger. You've always made yourself the victim. You enjoy watching me fall. I said softly. No. I just stopped cushioning your landing. The room fell into silence heavy enough to make every breath sound disloyal. My mother tried again. We can sort this privately. No one outside this family needs to know. Grandma's eyes narrowed. No. Helen. Secrets are what poisoned this family. Cassandra looked desperate. Grandma. Please. I can fix it. Just don't overreact. Grandma's tone remained calm. Overreact? You took from me. From your sister. From the trust that held us together. Diane's phone buzzed once. And she said quietly, Chief Marlowe is on standby. Beatrice. Do you want to proceed? Cassandra spun toward her. You called the police? Grandma didn't blink. I reported identity fraud this morning. Okay. Cassandra's shoulders slumped. You'd destroy me over a mistake? Grandma said. No. Cassandra. You destroyed yourself the moment you mistook deceit for survival. My father spoke for the first time with clarity. Cass. You have to take responsibility. She looked at him like he'd betrayed her too. You're all acting like I'm some criminal. I said evenly. Because that's exactly what you made me look like when the bank called. Ober. The truth settled over everyone like dust that couldn't be swept away. Grandma rose and said, This family will not survive another lie. Cassandra whispered. I just wanted to keep what's ours. Grandma's eyes softened for a moment. Then you should have remembered who it truly belonged to. I stood there listening as the words landed. Not as victory, but as the sound of something irreversibly ending. Grandma turned toward Diane and said, Make sure every document is reviewed before Monday. Diane nodded. My mother cried quietly. And my father rubbed his hands together. Speechless, I watched Cassandra sink into the chair. Her defiance gone. Her silence finally honest. The following week moved like an echo of that night. Cassandra faced the formal investigation. And I stayed out of the noise except when Diane called with updates. They confirmed the forged loan. She said, The state board suspended her license. She'll have to repay the $12,000. I only answered. Then maybe she'll finally understand what consequences feel like. My mother left a voicemail that began with a sigh. I don't know how to fix this. Mara. But I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. My father's voice came later. Softer. I'm proud of you for standing your ground. I met Grandma for tea on Sunday. The same day the official notice arrived. She poured quietly and said, I revised my estate papers. Half goes to you. The other half, to a community health trust. It felt fair. I told her. You didn't have to do that. She smiled faintly. I know. That's why I wanted to. I asked if she'd spoken to Cassandra. And she shook her head. She's not ready to hear me. Maybe someday. I nodded. Unsure if that day would ever come. But I no longer felt responsible for it. My mother visited once unannounced. She stood on my porch holding an envelope. It's a check, she said. For what we owe you. Your father insisted. I didn't reach for it. Keep it. You might need it more. Her eyes filled and she whispered. You sound like her. I asked. Like who? She said. Your grandmother. Calm when everyone else burns. I told her. Then maybe it skipped a generation. Dadius. After she left, I sat by the window with a cup of coffee. The kind Grandma always brewed strong enough to outlast silence. The air felt different now, quiet but not heavy. The house no longer carried their noise. Only my own breathing. I thought about how small things survive storms, a bank statement, a recording, a truth spoken aloud. Cassandra's world had fallen apart. But mine had finally stopped spinning. When Grandma called that evening and said, Come for dinner next week, I answered, Always? For the first time in years. The word felt simple, clean, and mine. They say family is forever. But forever only matters when truth lives inside it. I learned that silence can look like peace until it starts to choke you. Speaking up didn't fix everything. But it freed the part of me that kept shrinking to keep others comfortable. I no longer measure love by loyalty to pain. I measure it by honesty that survives it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and telling the truth, share your experience below. Your voice might help someone else finally find theirs.